Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Cheney and I'm a homeschooling mom of 3 kids ages 11, 4, and 11 months. And today I'm going to share with you a first impression sort of flip through of this secular middle school curriculum. It is the everything you need to know to ace whatever subject in one big fat notebook series. I just happened to get these. I've been eyeing these for a while. But I was having a really hard time sort of finding any like flip throughs or anyone really talking about them. I found a couple, but not a lot, and they weren't very insightful. So I'm going to do my best to try to help you guys here. I have 3 of them: the science, English language arts, and math. They also have history. I believe they have U.S. history and a world history. And then they're also coming out with a high school curriculum. I'm not sure if any of those have been released as of yet, but they will be releasing soon. So I happen to be over at someone else's house who homeschools, and I saw them on the shelf and I got super excited and I was like, oh my gosh, you guys have these? What do you think about them? I've been looking at them for a while. And they said, oh, well, we're not using them anymore. We kept them pristine. There's no writing in them. You can absolutely have them if you would like to use them. So I just thought I would share this with you guys because after looking through them, I'm super excited about it. And if you're looking for a secular middle school curriculum, these are probably the best textbooks to get, in my opinion, so far as to like what I've seen there. Especially for my 11-year-old, these fit really well within like the types of things that he tends to like. So we'll start with science, and I will just show you sort of the scope and sequence of it. So it's set up like it's notes written by the smartest kid in class and then proofread by a teacher. And so all the vocabulary words are highlighted. The definitions are in green highlighter. Blue pen is for important people, places, dates, and terms. And they doodle big ideas. And then, so for science, it goes through scientific investigation, thinking like a scientist, scientific experiments, lab results and evaluating results, SI units and measurements, lab safety and scientific tools, matter, chemical reactions and solutions, matter properties and phases, periodic tables, and atomic structure and compounds. Oh, my camera won't focus. I hate this. Why does it do this to me? I don't know. Solutions and fluids, motion, force and Newton's laws of motion, gravity and friction, and more forces in everyday life, work with machines, energy, forms of energy, thermal energy, light and sound waves, electricity and magnetism, electrical energy sources, outer space, the universe, and the solar system and space exploration, the sun, earth, moon system, stars and the galaxies, the origin of the universe and our solar system, minerals, rocks, and the earth's science structure, Earth's crust and motion, weathering and erosion, Earth's atmosphere and water cycle, weather, climate, organisms and biological classification, cell theory and cell structure, cellular transport and metabolism, cell reproduction and protein synthesis, plant structure and reproduction, animals and vertebrates, animal and plant homeostasis behavior, the skeletal and muscular system, nervous and endocrine system, digestive and excretory systems, respiratory and circulatory systems, immune and lymphatic systems, human reproduction and development, heredity and genetics, evolution, fossils in the rock ages, history of life on Earth, ecology and ecosystems, interdependence and the cycling of energy and matter, ecological success and biomes, and natural resources and conservation. Oh my gosh, that was a mouthful. But as you can see, this is a very comprehensive book. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it covers, it's supposed to be, a complete middle school course in science. So you could use this both as a resource book or as your core spine. And see, this, I love the way it's written. It's super appealing to an older age group without being boring. That's the thing about most secular curriculum that I found, is that it's just really boring or super, super literature based. And don't get me wrong, we're very literature based in our homeschool, but it gets expensive, and sometimes I want meatier content in the core curriculum itself. You know what I mean? Not just like a list of books to read. So this is so far, yeah, so there will be a chapter. It'll give you like the different vocabulary words, and then at the end of each one is a check your knowledge, and it'll have the questions on this side and then the answers on the other side. And so, as I said, like my friend, or actually it's a family member, they had their child write the answers on a separate piece of paper, and it kept this book clean. I will probably do the same thing. That way I can reuse this again with my other two as they enter the middle grade years. But yeah, look at how cute this is. This is, it's very difficult to find exciting science curriculum that isn't super expensive and heavy on the book side, or super expensive and heavy on the hands-on activity side. Like, this is sort of, this can stand on its own, and then you can add in experiments and activities as you see fit, or you can subtract, you can add in books as you see fit. You could take this book, if you were doing, say, like the Good and the Beautiful science units, but you have some older kids that maybe you want to make sure that they're getting more into the higher concepts, or you want to make sure that they're, the Good and the Beautiful has extensions and it's fine, but if you really want to turn it into a more rigorous course, you could take this and use the chapters that correlate with whatever it is that you're studying. So if you were doing, like energy, use the energy chapters out of here, which actually I have the Good and the Beautiful's older version of energy, just sort of stored away. I bought it while it was on sale. I might actually do that once we get there. I don't know. I know we're not going to use this just yet, but I am thinking, now that I'm looking at it, that next year I will really turn the gears up on my oldest son and have him do this. He's a big fan of like the, what do you call it? The Diary of a Wimpy Kid series, and this gives me those vibes, right? Like, it's written as if a child is explaining it to another child, if that makes sense. So far, I am very, very pleased with what I'm seeing. I think it's illustrated really well. It's on this like lined paper. Also, the bottom of each book is highlighted, so it's easy to flip to, whichever subject you're trying to get to, whichever section you're trying to get to. This is also completely independent if you want it to be. So you could read the chapters together, or you could have your child read through the chapters on their own and do the work on their own. The child, or the parent and child that I got this from, had the child working through these independently, and it had raving reviews from both the parent and the child. So yeah, I really like the way that this looks. It looks very comprehensive in a digestible way, which is always a good thing, because it's definitely written in a language, like a talking language, rather than, I don't know what you would call it. Some textbooks have a tendency to talk to you as if you're an expert. It's the only way I know how to put it. This does not do that. And then there's an index in the back. So, let's see if so it shows, it has, my camera will not focus. American history, world history, science, math, and English for the middle school years. So if I can get a hold of the other two history courses, it's literally an entire middle school course all in one. Fantastic. The more I can simplify things, especially with my child getting older, there's not a lot of content for older children. Slowly there's starting to be some, but for the most part, older kids just aren't as popular on YouTube as, super aesthetic kindergarten homeschools. So I'm going to do my best as I navigate these older years to try to put some more stuff out there for you to find. Because if you're like me and you have an older kid, it's harder to find stuff to do. Harder to find that conversation here on YouTube. So here is everything you need to ace English language arts in one big fat notebook. They're like a rainbow scheme too. So like whenever they sit on your desk or on your shelf or whatever, they go like in the form of a rainbow. Ooh, look at that. It doesn't really show through on the camera very well, but this is an incredibly fluorescent. It's like bright. Everything in here is like fluorescent colors. So for the language arts, we have phrases and clauses, objective, subjective, and possessive pronouns, intense pronouns, verbals, active and passive, voice and verbs, verbs and mood, defining from context, Latin and Greek affixes and roots, reference materials, figurative language, word relationships, nuances and word meanings, types of fiction, objective summary, textual analysis and evidence, authorship and narration, setting, character, plot, theme, tone, poetry, fiction reading list, types of it actually has a reading list, look at there. Sorry, that surprised me, I haven't read all the way through this apparently. Types of nonfiction, textual analysis and evidence, authorship, central ideas and arguments, structure, a nonfiction reading list. Research for writing, writing practices, writing arguments, expository writing, informative and explanatory, you guys, I promise you I speak well when the camera is off. Explanatory texts, and writing narratives. So, not quite so many titled chapters, but an equally thick book. So, language arts is just that subject that my older son just is not a fan of. He loves reading books. He hates language arts, if that makes sense. He enjoys reading about things, but he doesn't really he hates grammar. He hates, especially grammar. Grammar's like that topic that's the one that I struggle with the most. So I'm hoping that with this, he will latch onto it. He's really enjoyed the book studies from The Good and the Beautiful, but unfortunately they only have 1 year's worth of book studies. If I could do, an entire middle school course out of book studies, I probably would, because this is the best language arts that I have had for him so far. Even though the texts themselves are geared towards a higher level audience, it's the pulling it all into a one book thing that he's really enjoyed. But I'm hoping, because of how much this really reminds me of one of his favorite book series, that he'll be more interested in this. This seems more approachable than a regular grammar test, I guess. Or at least to me, I don't know. My kids are growing up with a very different array of textbooks than I did. So to me, when I look at this, I'm like, oh my gosh, how fun. This is a text. Doesn't even look like a textbook, maybe it hits the kids differently. I'm not really sure. But yeah. I really think this is beautiful. It's not quite, I feel like The Good and the Beautiful is more beautiful to younger kids and to adults, but in the middle grades, they're less concerned with artwork and stuff. Or at least my middle grade boy is. He really doesn't care about a beautiful picture. But this is very beautiful, like, to a middle grade child's eye. It's more aesthetic for him, which is what's important, right? I think sometimes as parents we have a hard time, like, I need the curriculum to work for me because I'm the teacher, but it also has to work for him. And finding that balance of curriculum that's at the right amount of rigor that we want, that teaches the material that we want in a way that we can teach it, but also in a way that the child will digest it. It's a very delicate balance that we have to strike. And the more I look through this, the more I think that this might actually be it for us for the middle grade years, which are really intimidating. And I'm trying to navigate that area. There's way less options. It's a lot more expensive. You're starting to put in high school credits, which is, really daunting. So having it simplified down like this for me is honestly, like, it's kind of like when I first found The Good and the Beautiful, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can do science with all my kids at the same time. That's awesome. I feel that way about this for middle school. Like, you mean it's all just in these books and we can just go through and read it, and then I can, throw in extra activities as needed? Sweet, awesome. I love that. The more rigor and the less work on me is probably the best, usually. Unless I have to put him in front of a computer. That's one thing that I try very, very hard not to do. I've done it before. I don't like it. He doesn't like it. And I probably won't ever do it again. Unless, like, he's in college or something. I don't know. But I'm just, the sticking my kids in front of the computer to learn thing is just not working for us. So I probably won't do that again. So that is it. English Language Arts. And last but not least, I have everything you need to ace math in one big fat notebook. So for this one, we have types of numbers in the number line, positive and negative numbers, absolute value, factors and greatest common factor, multiples and least common multiple, fraction basics, types of fractions, adding and subtraction fractions, multiplying and dividing fractions, adding and subtracting decimals, multiplying decimals, dividing decimals, adding positive and negative numbers, subtracting positive and negative numbers, multiplying and dividing positive and negative numbers, inequalities, ratios, unit rate and unit price, proportions, converting measurements, percent word problems, taxes and fees, discounts and markups, gratuity, not gravity, and commission, simple interest, percent rate of change, tables and ratios, expressions, properties like terms, exponents, order of operations, scientific notation, square root and cube roots, comparing irrational numbers, equations, solving for variables, solving multi-step equations, solving graphic inequalities, solving and graphing inequalities, sorry about that, word problems with equations and inequalities, introduction to geometry, angles, quadrilaterals and area, triangles and area, Pythagorean theorem, circles, circumference and area, the three-dimensional figures, volume, surface area, angles, triangles, and transversal lines, similar figures and scale drawings, introduction to statistics, measures of central tendency and variation, displaying data, probability, coordinate plane relations, lines and functions, slopes, linear equations and functions, simultaneous linear equations and functions, nonlinear functions, polygons and the coordinate plane, transformations, proportional relationships, and graphs. Yes, all of that was a really big mouthful. But, oh my gosh, you guys, look at that. Look at it. Look at it. I love it. I don't know why, but these, I feel like I hit a gold mine here. Like I said, I had been eyeing these for a really long time, or I shouldn't say really long, for, in the time I've been buying curriculum, I have been eyeing these, but I just couldn't find enough about them to, like, take the dive and make all the purchases. I went with, like, the safer route of the curriculum that I knew for the most part. Especially like he's still young enough that I can, get away with experimenting a little bit. With the exception of the logic course that we're taking, that counts as a half a credit for high school. Nothing is going on a transcript yet. So I think that now that I have them and I'm looking through them, we are definitely going to switch to this. Maybe, hopefully, I don't know, I changed my mind a lot. But in the coming years, this will become the spine for my oldest son. And if it doesn't work, I'll let you guys know. We might move to just using it as a reference book when we hit certain sections. But I think this might be the one for my son, which is super exciting. I'm always excited. Ever since I started recording these videos, I've realized how often I say certain phrases like, oh, I'm so excited, and also how often I say in conversation. So, I'm trying my best, you guys, to work on it. It's habit, I think, at this point. But, yeah, I just find this like this looks like the notes that I would have taken in college, minus the highlighters. I didn't really do highlighters or anything, but I would probably use like different colored pencils. Can you guys hear my kids being crazy in the other room? Always. Never a moment of peace. If you have multiple kids, please tell me you understand. F in the chat. So yeah, I hope that this flip through was helpful to you if you're looking for middle school curriculum. If you know of any middle school curriculum, please let me know in the comments down below. I am very new to navigating this world. If you have any suggestions, or any high school credits that we can go ahead and catch in the middle school years is fine too. But yeah, I hope that this was helpful. I looked for it for myself and I couldn't find it, so I thought I'd put this out there. And if I come across, or if I end up buying the U.S. history and world history, if you guys want to see that, let me know in the comments down below. And if you have any other questions about it, leave those in the comments down below and I'll do my best to get back to you. Okay? Bye!